Yes.
All right, so scaling value from IIoT scene number 5. Welcome back to the series and to discussion how you can leverage Internet of Things to generate value and how to scale that. Now today we want to talk about the rollout challenge. So how can we make sure that you can roll out an IoT solution that you build? And to recap, we talked a lot about use cases. How can you find use cases, which is the basis for building a solution that generates value. And the second step up here was how to build a solution and how to manage variants that you will need to run for your different sites and for different installations. And now we talk about how can we roll these solutions out. So how do we get them installed in the field? As this is for me the most important part, right? So building one POC is nice, but the real value comes in once you install them in all your sites, install all the air assets, which are great. Now, the solution for that is a little bit counterintuitive what happens today, in my opinion. When I look at my customer base, what they are actually doing with this is they drive a project-based approach, right? So there's a central team responsible for digitalization or Internet of Things. And what they do to drive digitalization is actually a pretty analog methodology. They set up a PMO, they invite people, they do workshops, they send in service teams to do manual installations. Now this is something that of course works to some extent, but it does not scale. It does not scale at the level that you need in order to reduce your rollout costs, and with that, make much more solutions and business cases viable for your setup. That means digitalization can help us there too. So assuming that we can digitalize this process, I think that this will help a lot to scale more solutions. Now, how would this look like? So let's assume I'm the operator of a plant and I have a press line, I have a paint shop, and I'm looking for a solution that addresses a certain value-adding use case. I don't know, getting one more lift per minute out of my press line, getting more output out of my paint shop, producing at higher quality. All these are valid use cases, and I want to install a solution that helps me addressing this challenge. Now, instead of setting up teamwork, workshops, meetings, service teams that I need to pay, the best manner for this operator that's working in this plant would be having a digital workflow instruction guideline, how to install the solution step by step, and especially install it at your own pace whenever it fits your production schedule, not when it fits the program or digitalization program schedule. So this operator would need to get a step-by-step instruction, real workflow to install the solution. Now, I think there are certain important aspects to that. I think first of all, this workflow needs to implement also the enablement part. So it's not just execute, but also enabling this operator to understand what the solution is. The second element needs to be, typically there are more than one people involved in installing a solution, so you also need to be able to manage a team who does that. And I think the third element is that as the complexity in industrial environments and production is typically very high, such a step-by-step definition of a workflow can be a challenge. Nevertheless, you can manage that via introducing so-called checkpoints, and let me just draw up one here, where the operator not only executes a work step, but also gives feedback to a central team that can check if it's still on track. Now let's play this through. So let's assume we have a digital system that allows a step-by-step instruction for the team and for the operator. So the work step number 1 might be enablement, right? So watch a video, download a document to read, understand the installation of another site, and this all can be provided by a digital platform. The next step might be order certain elements or assets. Yeah? So order your IPC, order or trigger an ERP order for a software, whatever is required for the bill of materials for the solution. Then the next step might be, upload a certain software to the IPC or to your edge device, and so on and so forth. But these can be digitally enhanced workflows. And then you have a checkpoint and say, hey, somebody needs to check that you're still on track and everything's correct, so upload your software image. Now, this is something that a platform digital tool can do today. And I think with that, you have several advantages. First of all, you do not need to send in service teams, you just upload your instruction workflow, your solution implementation workflow, so that somebody can execute it. And the second advantage is that, I mean, as plant 1 executes this workflow, there are many other sites that might have the same use case. You can centrally watch all the installations, how they are progressing. So that somebody who built this technological concept of the solution and built the workflow, how to install it, which is, I mean, for me, the solution designer role, right? Can have a central look at where are these people standing, this team standing with the installation, where are the problems? And there might be the indication, okay, this work step here takes longer than anticipated, so maybe I need to update and improve my solution, or I need to update and improve the implementation workflow. For me, essential is a technical concept without the implementation workflow, so the step-by-step instruction how to install it is worth nothing. If I cannot define it in a step-by-step manner, so this technical teams, which are typically on site, can install that, it's worth nothing. Nevertheless, managing this via a digital system, that's how then it starts to scale. So this digital system allows you to scale your installations and your IoT solutions. So let's end this session by what are the advantages of that. I think the first and foremost advantage I mentioned several times, it's scalable, right? If this is based on, for example, a cloud-based solution, you can distribute logins to all your operators, it doesn't matter. All your operators can check which solutions are available, they can look at the installation workflows and can start to execute it. The second thing, the second most important thing is self-enablement. So with a digital e-learning platform, for example, you can provide materials so that these guys can enable themselves. And the biggest advantage maybe of the self-enablement is self-pace for them. It does not need to follow a central schedule, but it can follow their daily work, it can follow their production schedule. The next advantage is self-learning, right? So the system that collects all these or executes all these workflows, if you look at them, you can learn from that. So how your installations are going, where are the checkpoints which are not met, where are the problems, and you improve your solutions. And the last element, and I think maybe one of the most important one, so is the system can be self-motivating. So that means, of course, for the operator, it's much more easier to install a solution where he sees the clear-by-clear instruction, step-by-step instruction, and can very efficiently do that, instead of running a project with a lot of people flying around. So the motivation for this operator is much higher to install your solution if he has the workflow, can execute it by himself, than if he needs to follow a classical PMO-based approach. And with that self-motivation, that's where you then close also loop into your self-enforcing circle with IoT. If he starts to install it, others can see that on the system, a success story is born, and another use case, and the people start to think about new use cases and how to drive further IoT. Alright, so this is how we close the loop. I hope this was interesting for you, and in the next scenes and next sessions we will talk about how this will impact IoT and industrial IoT especially. Thank you very much for your attention.